Arnold Schwarzenegger is an Austrian-American actor, filmmaker, businessman, author, and former professional bodybuilder and politician. He served as the 38th governor of California from 2003 to 2011. As of 2020, he is the most recent Republican governor of California.
Schwarzenegger began lifting weights at the age of 15. He won the Mr. Universe title at age 20 and went on to win the Mr. Olympia contest 7 times, remaining a prominent presence in bodybuilding and writing many books and articles on the sport. The Arnold Sports Festival, considered the second most important professional bodybuilding event in recent years, is named after him. He is widely considered to be one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, as well as the sport's most charismatic ambassador.
Schwarzenegger gained worldwide fame as a Hollywood action film icon. His breakthrough film was the sword and sorcery epic Conan the Barbarian in 1982, a box office hit that resulted in a sequel. In 1984, he appeared in the title role of James Cameron's critically and commercially successful science fiction action film The Terminator. He subsequently played a similar Terminator character in most of the franchise's later installments: Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, Terminator Genesis, and Terminator: Dark Fate. He has appeared in a number of other successful films, such as Commando, The Running Man, Predator, Twins, Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, and True Lies. Schwarzenegger married Maria Shriver, a niece of the 35th U.S. President John F. Kennedy and daughter of the 1972 Democratic vice presidential candidate and former ambassador to France Sargent Shriver, in 1986. They separated in 2011 after he admitted to having fathered a child with another woman in 1997. The divorce was finalized in 2017.
As a Republican, Schwarzenegger was first elected on October 7, 2003, in a special recall election to replace then-Governor Gray Davis. He was sworn in on November 17 to serve the remainder of Davis' term. He was then re-elected in the 2006 California gubernatorial election to serve a full term as governor. In 2011, he completed his second term as governor and returned to acting.
Schwarzenegger was nicknamed the Austrian Oak in his bodybuilding days, Arnie, or Schwartzy during his acting career, the Governator during his political career, and is commonly known in Japan as Shu-chan.
Arnold Alois Schwarzenegger was born on July 30, 1947 in Fadel, Styria to Aurelia and Gustav Schwarzenegger. His father was the local chief of police and had served in World War II as a Hauptfeldwebel after voluntarily joining the Nazi Party in 1938. He was wounded in the Battle of Stalingrad, but was discharged in 1943 following a bout of malaria. He married Schwarzenegger's mother on October 20, 1945. He was 38 and she was 23. According to Arnold Schwarzenegger, his parents were very strict. Back then in Austria it was a very different world. If we did something bad or we disobeyed our parents, the rod was not spared. He grew up in a Catholic family who attended Mass every Sunday.
Gustav had a preference for his elder son, Meinhard, over Arnold. His favoritism was strong and blatant, which stemmed from unfounded suspicion that Arnold was not his biological child. Schwarzenegger has said that his father had no patience for listening or understanding your problems. He had a good relationship with his mother and kept in touch with her until her death. In later life, he commissioned the Simon Wiesenthal Center to research his father's wartime record, which came up with no evidence of Gustav being involved in atrocities, despite his membership in the Nazi Party and Sturmabteilung. Gustav's background received wide press attention during the 2003 California recall campaign.
At school, Schwarzenegger was reportedly academically average, but stood out for his cheerful, good-humored, and exuberant character. Money was a problem in their household. Schwarzenegger recalled that one of the highlights of his youth was when the family bought a refrigerator. As a boy, he played several sports, heavily influenced by his father. He picked up his first barbell in 1960 when his soccer coach took his team to a local gym. At the age of 14, he chose bodybuilding over soccer as a career. He later said, "I actually started weight training when I was 15, but I'd been participating in sports, like soccer, for years, so I felt that although I was slim, I was well developed, at least enough so that I could start going to the gym and start Olympic lifting." However, his official website biography claims that at 14, he started an intensive training program with Dan Farmer, studied psychology at 15, and at 17, officially started his competitive career. During a speech in 2001, he said, "My own plan formed when I was 14 years old. My father had wanted me to be a police officer like he was. My mother wanted me to go to trade school."
Schwarzenegger took to visiting a gym in Graz, where he also frequented the local movie theaters to see bodybuilding idols such as Reg Park, Steve Reeves, and Johnny Weissmuller on the big screen. When Reeves died in 2000, Schwarzenegger fondly remembered him. "As a teenager, I grew up with Steve Reeves. His remarkable accomplishments allowed me a sense of what was possible when others around me didn't always understand my dreams. Steve Reeves has been part of everything I've ever been fortunate enough to achieve." In 1961, Schwarzenegger met former MR Austria Kurt Martel, who invited him to train at the gym in Graz. He was so dedicated as a youngster that he broke into the local gym on weekends, so that he could train even when it was closed. "It would make me sick to miss a workout. I knew I couldn't look at myself in the mirror the next morning if I didn't do it." When Schwarzenegger was asked about his first movie experience as a boy, he replied, "I was very young, but I remember my father taking me to the Austrian theaters and seeing some newsreels. The first real movie I saw, that I distinctly remember, was a John Wayne movie."
Schwarzenegger's brother, Meinhard, died in a car crash on May 20, 1971. He was driving drunk and died instantly. Schwarzenegger did not attend his funeral. Meinhard was engaged to Erika Knapp, and they had a 3-year-old son named Patrick. Schwarzenegger paid for Patrick's education and helped him to move to the U.S. Gustav died on December 13, 1972, from a stroke. In Pumping Iron, Schwarzenegger claimed that he did not attend his father's funeral because he was training for a bodybuilding contest. Later, he and the film's producer said this story was taken from another bodybuilder to show the extreme some would go to for their sport and to make Schwarzenegger's image colder to create controversy for the film. However, Barbara Baker, his first serious girlfriend, recalled that he informed her of his father's death without emotion and that he never spoke of his brother. Over time, he has given at least 3 versions of why he was absent from his father's funeral.
In an interview with Fortune in 2004, Schwarzenegger told how he suffered what would now be called child abuse at the hands of his father. "My hair was pulled. I was hit with belts. So was the kid next door. It was just the way it was. Many of the children I've seen were broken by their parents, which was the German-Austrian mentality. They didn't want to create an individual. It was all about conforming. I was one who did not conform, and whose will could not be broken. Therefore, I became a rebel. Every time I got hit, and every time someone said, 'You can't do this,' I said, 'This is not going to be for much longer because I'm going to move out of here. I want to be rich. I want to be somebody.'"
Schwarzenegger served in the Austrian army in 1965 to fulfill the 1 year of service required at the time of all 18-year-old Austrian males. During his army service, he won the Junior MR Europe contest. He went AWOL during basic training so he could take part in the competition and then spent a week in military prison. "Participating in the competition meant so much to me that I didn't carefully think through the consequences." He entered another bodybuilding contest in Graz, at Steyerhof Hotel, where he placed second. He was voted Best Built Man of Europe, which made him famous in bodybuilding circles. The MR Universe title was my ticket to America, the land of opportunity, where I could become a star and get rich. Schwarzenegger made his first plane trip in 1966, attending the NABA MR Universe competition in London. He would come in second in the MR Universe competition, not having the muscle definition of American winner Chester Yurton.
Charles Wag Bennett, one of the judges at the 1966 competition, was impressed with Schwarzenegger and he offered to coach him. As Schwarzenegger had little money, Bennett invited him to stay in his crowded family home above one of his two gyms in Forest Gate, London. Jurgen's leg definition had been judged superior, and Schwarzenegger, under a training program devised by Bennett, concentrated on improving the muscle definition and power in his legs. Staying in the East End of London helped Schwarzenegger improve his rudimentary grasp of the English language. Living with the Bennetts also changed him as a person. Being with them made me so much more sophisticated. When you're the age I was then, you're always looking for approval, for love, for attention, and also for guidance. At the time, I wasn't really aware of that. But now, looking back, I see that the Bennett family fulfilled all those needs. Especially my need to be the best in the world. To be recognized and to feel unique and special. They saw that I needed the care and attention and love.
Also in 1966, while at Bennett's home, Schwarzenegger had the opportunity to meet childhood idol Reg Park, who became his friend and mentor. The training paid off and, in 1967, Schwarzenegger won the title for the first time, becoming the youngest ever MR Universe at the age of 20. He would go on to win the title a further 3 times. Schwarzenegger then flew back to Munich, where he attended a business school and worked in a health club, returning in 1968 to London to win his next MR Universe title. He frequently told Roger C. Field, his English coach and friend in Munich at that time, "I'm going to become the greatest actor."
Schwarzenegger, who dreamed of moving to the US since the age of 10, and saw bodybuilding as the avenue through which to do so, realized his dream by moving to the United States in October 1968 at the age of 21, speaking little English. There he trained at Gold's Gym in Venice, Los Angeles, California, under Joe Weider's supervision. From 1970 to 1974, one of Schwarzenegger's weight training partners was Rick Drazen, a professional wrestler who designed the original Gold's Gym logo in 1973. Schwarzenegger also became good friends with professional wrestler superstar Billy Graham. In 1970, at age 23, he captured his first MR Olympia title in New York, and would go on to win the title a total of 7 times.
The immigration law firm Siskind and Susser has stated that Schwarzenegger may have been an illegal immigrant at some point in the late 1960s or early 1970s because of violations in the terms of his visa. LA Weekly would later say in 2002 that Schwarzenegger is the most famous immigrant in America, who overcame a thick Austrian accent and transcended the unlikely background of bodybuilding to become the biggest movie star in the world in the 1990s.
In 1977, Schwarzenegger's autobiography/weight training guide Arnold, The Education of a Bodybuilder became a huge success. In 1977 he posed for the gay magazine After Dark. Due to taking an assortment of courses at Santa Monica College in California, as well as further upper division classes at the University of California, Los Angeles as part of UCLA's extension program, Schwarzenegger had by then accumulated enough credits so as to be within striking distance of graduation. In 1979 he enrolled in the University of Wisconsin-Superior as a distance education student, completing most of his coursework by correspondence and flying out to Superior in order to meet professors and take final exams. In May 1980, he formally graduated and received his bachelor's degree in business administration and marketing. He got his United States citizenship in 1983.
Schwarzenegger said that during this time he encountered a friend who told him he was teaching transcendental meditation, which prompted Schwarzenegger to reveal that he had been struggling with anxiety for the first time in his life. "Even today, I still benefit from because I don't merge and bring things together and see everything as one big problem."
Schwarzenegger is considered among the most important figures in the history of bodybuilding, and his legacy is commemorated in the Arnold Classic annual bodybuilding competition. He has remained a prominent face in bodybuilding long after his retirement, in part because of his ownership of gyms and fitness magazines. He has presided over numerous contests and awards shows.
For many years, he wrote a monthly column for the bodybuilding magazines Muscle and Fitness and Flex. Shortly after being elected governor, he was appointed the executive editor of both magazines. in a largely symbolic capacity. The magazines agreed to donate $250,000 a year to the governor's various physical fitness initiatives. When the deal, including the contract that gave Schwarzenegger at least $1 million a year, was made public in 2005, many criticized it as being a conflict of interest since the governor's office made decisions concerning regulation of dietary supplements in California. Consequently, Schwarzenegger relinquished the executive editor role in 2005. American Media Incorporated, which owns Muscle and Fitness and Flex, announced in March 2013 that Schwarzenegger had accepted their renewed offer to be executive editor of the magazines.
One of the first competitions he won was the Junior MR Europe contest in 1965. He won MR Europe the following year, at age 19. He would go on to compete in many bodybuilding contests, and win most of them. His bodybuilding victories included 5 MR Universe wins, and 7 MR Olympia wins, a record which would stand until Lee Haney won his 8th consecutive MR Olympia title in 1991.
Schwarzenegger continues to work out. When asked about his personal training during the 2011 Arnold Classic, he said that he was still working out a half an hour with weights every day.
During Schwarzenegger's early years in bodybuilding, he also competed in several Olympic weightlifting and powerlifting contests. Schwarzenegger's first professional competition was in 1963, and he won 2 weightlifting contests in 1964 and 1965, as well as 2 powerlifting contests in 1966 and 1968.
In 1967, Schwarzenegger won the Munich stone lifting contest, in which a stone weighing 508 German pounds is lifted between the legs while standing on 2 footrests.
Schwarzenegger's goal was to become the greatest bodybuilder in the world, which meant becoming MR Olympia. His first attempt was in 1969, when he lost to 3-time champion Sergio Oliva. However, Schwarzenegger came back in 1970 and won the competition, making him the youngest ever MR Olympia at the age of 23, a record he still holds to this day.
He continued his winning streak in the 1971-74 competitions. In 1975, Schwarzenegger was once again in top form and won the title for the 6th consecutive time, beating Franco Columbu. After the 1975 MR Olympia contest, Schwarzenegger announced his retirement from professional bodybuilding.
Months before the 1975 MR Olympia contest, filmmakers George Butler and Robert Fiore persuaded Schwarzenegger to compete in order to film his training in the bodybuilding documentary called Pumping Iron. Schwarzenegger had only 3 months to prepare for the competition, after losing significant weight to appear in the film Stay Hungry with Jeff Bridges. Although significantly taller and heavier, Lou Ferrigno proved not to be a threat, and a lighter-than-usual Schwarzenegger convincingly won the 1975 MR Olympia.
Schwarzenegger came out of retirement, however, to compete in the 1980 MR Olympia. Schwarzenegger was training for his role in Conan, and he got into such good shape because of the running, horseback riding, and sword training that he decided he wanted to win the MR Olympia contest one last time. He kept this plan a secret in the event that a training accident would prevent his entry and cause him to lose face. Schwarzenegger had been hired to provide color commentary for network television when he announced at the 11th hour that, while he was there, why not compete? Schwarzenegger ended up winning the event with only 7 weeks of preparation. Having been declared MR Olympia for a 7th time, Schwarzenegger then officially retired from competition. This victory was highly controversial, though, as fellow competitors and many observers felt that his lack of muscle mass and subpar conditioning shouldn't have allowed him to go ahead of a very competitive lineup that year. Mike Mentzer, in particular, felt cheated and withdrew from competitive bodybuilding after that contest.
Schwarzenegger has acknowledged using performance-enhancing anabolic steroids while they were legal. writing in 1977 that steroids were helpful to me in maintaining muscle size while on a strict diet in preparation for a contest. I did not use them for muscle growth, but rather for muscle maintenance when cutting up. He has called the drugs tissue building.
In 1999, Schwarzenegger sued Willy Heath, a German doctor who publicly predicted his early death on the basis of a link between his steroid use and his later heart problems. As the doctor had never examined him personally, Schwarzenegger collected a $10,000 libel judgment against him in a German court. In 1999, Schwarzenegger also sued and settled with Globe, a U.S. tabloid which had made similar predictions about the bodybuilder's future health.
Schwarzenegger wanted to move from bodybuilding into acting, finally achieving it when he was chosen to play the role of Hercules in 1969's Hercules in New York. Credited under the stage name Arnold Strong, his accent in the film was so thick that his lines were dubbed after production. His second film appearance was as a deaf-mute mod hitman in The Long Goodbye, which was followed by a much more significant part in the film Stay Hungry, for which he won the Golden Globe Award for New Star of the Year, actor. Schwarzenegger has discussed his early struggles in developing his acting career. It was very difficult for me in the beginning. I was told by agents and casting people that my body was too weird, that I had a funny accent, and that my name was too long. You name it, and they told me I had to change it. Basically, everywhere I turned, I was told that I had no chance.
Schwarzenegger drew attention and boosted his profile in the bodybuilding film Pumping Iron, elements of which were dramatized. In 1991, he purchased the rights to the film, its outtakes, and associated still photography. In 1977, he made guest appearances in single episodes of the ABC sitcom The San Pedro Beach Bums and the ABC police procedural The Streets of San Francisco. Schwarzenegger auditioned for the title role of the Incredible Hulk, but did not win the role because of his height. Later, Lou Ferrigno got the part of Dr. David Banner's alter ego. Schwarzenegger appeared with Kirk Douglas and Anne Margaret in the 1979 comedy The Villain. In 1980, he starred in a biographical film of the 1950s actress Jane Mansfield as Mansfield's husband, Mickey Hargitay.
Schwarzenegger's breakthrough film was the sword and sorcery epic Conan the Barbarian in 1982, which was a box office hit. This was followed by a sequel, Conan the Destroyer, in 1984, although it was not as successful as its predecessor. In 1983, Schwarzenegger starred in the promotional video, Carnival in Rio. In 1984, he made his first appearance as the eponymous character, and what some would say was his acting career's signature role, in James Cameron's science fiction thriller film The Terminator. Following this, Schwarzenegger made Red Sonja in 1985. During the 1980s, audiences had an appetite for action films, with both Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone becoming international stars. Schwarzenegger's roles reflected his sense of humor, separating him from more serious action hero films. He made a number of successful action films in the 1980s, such as Commando, Raw Deal, The Running Man, Predator, and Red Heat.
Twins, a comedy with Danny DeVito, also proved successful. Total Recall netted Schwarzenegger $10 million and 15% of the film's gross. A science fiction script, the film was based on the Philip K. Dick short story We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. Kindergarten Cop reunited him with director Ivan Reitman, who directed him in Twins. Schwarzenegger had a brief foray into directing, first with a 1990 episode of the TV series Tales from the Crypt, entitled The Switch, and then with the 1992 telemovie Christmas in Connecticut. He has not directed since.
Schwarzenegger's commercial peak was his return as the title character in 1991's Terminator 2, Judgment Day, which was the highest-grossing film of 1991. In 1993, the National Association of Theater Owners named him the International Star of the Decade. His next film project, the 1993 self-aware action comedy spoof Last Action Hero, was released opposite Jurassic Park and did not do well at the box office. His next film, the comedy drama True Lies, was a popular spy film and saw Schwarzenegger reunited with James Cameron.
That same year, the comedy Junior was released, the last of Schwarzenegger's 3 collaborations with Ivan Reitman and again co-starring Danny DeVito. This film brought him his second Golden Globe nomination, this time for Best Actor, Motion Picture Musical or Comedy. It was followed by the action thriller Eraser, the Christmas comedy Jingle All the Way, and the comic book-based Batman and Robin, in which he played the villain Mr. Freeze. This was his final film, before taking time to recuperate from a back injury. Following the critical failure of Batman and Robin, his film career and box office prominence went into decline. He returned with the supernatural thriller End of Days, later followed by the action films The Sixth Day and Collateral Damage, both of which failed to do well at the box office. In 2003, he made his third appearance as the title character in Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines, which went on to earn over $150 million domestically.
In tribute to Schwarzenegger in 2002, Forum Stadtpark, a local cultural association, proposed plans to build a 25-meter-tall Terminator statue in a park in central Graz. Schwarzenegger reportedly said he was flattered, but thought the money would be better spent on social projects and the Special Olympics.
His film appearances after becoming governor of California included a 3-second cameo appearance in The Rundown and the 2004 remake of Around the World in 80 Days. In 2005, he appeared as himself in the film The Kid and I. He voiced Baron von Steuben in the Liberty's Kids episode Valley Forge. He had been rumored to be appearing in Terminator Salvation as the original T-800. He denied his involvement, but he ultimately did appear briefly via his image being inserted into the movie from stock footage of the first Terminator movie. Schwarzenegger appeared in Sylvester Stallone's The Expendables, where he made a cameo appearance.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.